Hello, I'd like to thank everyone for funding me on the mosque campaigns that I did, the spate of mosque applications that I did an appeal funding for. And thanks for doing it so fast as well, because that enabled me to jump on the cases fast, which is always a help. And this video is just an update to let people know how they're going. I think they're all going, they're going reasonably well. It's difficult to get the council to communicate with us. They don't have too much spare capacity, and also they don't want to communicate with people like us. Mosque applications are trouble, so you have to do it from external signs, but I think the indicators, the clues, are pretty good on most of them. All right, what I want to do with it is this one. Now, if I go here, that application, that is, the first one is this Sutton one, and the address is the old ambulance station in Dorset Road in Belmont. That is the view of it from the agents had when they sold it, Savills. So that's a single story building amongst a bunch of houses. If I go here, then you can zoom out a bit. So if you see that site there, you just see that how that site compares with the Savills picture. And that is, hold on, that shows that how congested the area is. It's right next to a park, all those residential houses around there. That place is vulnerable to a parking jihad if you get one. And you see about 150 meters away, that's a primary school, that's a nursery, and I think there's another school up here, just there. Yeah, another school there, and another nursery there right by the park. I think that place is, I don't think that's the right place for a mosque. Now, how's it going? Well, here what you have is this is the public comments page, and what it shows is there are 2,623 public comments. Objections are 1,542. Supporting is 1079. What I like is the quality of the objections is high, and that means I think the council are going to take them seriously, because they're going to realise that ordinary people are taking it seriously. The councils in always their initial response is let's give in to the Muslims. Muslims are always kicking off. We don't want to get called rude names, so let's give them planning permission if we can. Then when the white English people get on their hind legs, councils take that seriously, because white English people don't get on their hind legs unless they have reason to do so, and they then start to backpedal. And I think that is the case here. I just want to show you just the top objection. Now, this is one I picked at random because at the time it was at the top of the list, and I won't show you the guy's name, but just to show the quality of the objection. Severe impact on parking and highway safety, overdevelopment of the site, noise and disturbance to neighbouring homes, insufficient transport and infrastructure capacity, lack of adequate parking and unrealistic assumptions in the transport statement. So he's read the transport statement accompanying the application. This guy's done his homework, and he's showing he's done his homework. This is a reasoned objection. Loss of community serving facility. For these reasons, I respectfully request that the council refuse this application. That is good. That is much better than the gimme, I want this, give it to me. The sort of two-line letters in support that Muslims tend to write. And in this case, the quality of letters in support is much poorer. So I'm encouraged by that. A lot of objections and good quality objections as well. Okay, so the next one is this one in Barking and Dagenham, the old post office. Hold on. Let me do this. That one. The old post office in 279 Wood Lane, Dagenham, Barking and Dagenham. And if I show you where it is, that is how it looks. Now, if you look at that red thing there with the red awning, that's the old post office. That's closed down. Look at all those parking restrictions. Look at that. Look at that street. Look how busy that is. Imagine you had a mosque in the mix there. All the double yellows, zigzags, parking restrictions. That is not the right place for a mosque. So give me a second and I'll zoom out. Now, if you see that again, that red thing, red awning, that is the post office. Look, look at that busy road with all those junctions. That's a snarl up at the best of times. See crisscrossing there. That's junction of 6 roads there. That's a junction of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 there. And that is not the place to stick a mosque. Imagine that on a Friday evening. You're coming home from work. You're doing the school run. It's not going to be fun going along there with buses. I think, but the potential for buses to get backed up. So that's the wrong place for a mosque. I mean, what they said was, now this is a news story. Wood Lane, Dagenham Post Office could become a mosque. That's when the application was submitted back on 17th of March. And a lot of nice things they said. Hold on. The mosque and community centre would operate during reasonable daytime and early evening hours with no significant increase in footfall. Well, no, I don't believe that. The opening hours will be 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. all week. Is that reasonable? Personally, I don't think it is. I don't think it should be open. It shouldn't be allowed. But it shouldn't be allowed at all. And certainly shouldn't be allowed for those hours. So now if I go back, I want to deal with the number of objections. What you've got there, if I just scroll down, so all of these, those are letters of representation, comments from members of the public. Now that's a lot. I calculate that's about 350 letters of objection, and 2/3, my guess from having clicked on quite a lot of them, is that it's about 2/3, bit over 2/3 against opposing. So I'm reasonably happy about that. And I think there is delay in deciding it. I think that will continue, as with the Sutton one. And I'm happy about that. The reason the council might delay is because there's a lot of opposition and they suddenly find, hold on, we can't just grant planning permission for this. We're going to have to look at this more carefully, maybe even find reasons to refuse. You never know. So I'm okay with that. Okay, this is the next one. This is Cheshire and West Chester. I don't think this one's going so well. This is change of use from a bar and restaurant to a Muslim community. Yeah, bingo, there you are, community centre. And that's the place there, New Flavour, that place. And if that was a nightclub, and if I zoom out, what you'll see is that's a bunch of commercial facilities, shops and retail and sort of public footfall frontage on a feeder road that feeds the A54 dual carriageway. And if I zoom in, what you'll see is that there are cars parked all the way along. So the rest of it is effectively a one-way single file street with those cars parked along there. So if that becomes a mosque there, that again is very vulnerable to the parking jihad. As good luck if you want to do the school run to go out there, or if you want to go shopping or get out of town or to come home from work along the A54. Good luck doing that on a Friday afternoon if that goes ahead. The reason I think this one isn't going really so well is because of the number of objections is small. Let that page load up. What you see there is, hold on, public comments. Come on. Okay, so the number of public comments is 25, and you got about half a dozen in writing that are listed under the documents tab. So most of those are about are objections. I would say that's nearly 30 that are objections, nearly 30 objections. That's not enough. That is enough to give the council cause for concern and kick it upstairs into planning committee to be decided rather than being decided by planning officers. So it's not a lousy showing, but it's not nearly as much as I would hope. So maybe people in Cheshire and West Chester, maybe they're a bit too genteel to get into a scrap with a mosque. I don't know. But that one I'm not quite so optimistic about, but you never know. Okay, the next one is Romford. You might recognise this one. Quite a lot of people have contacted me about this one. 222 to 226 South Street, Romford. Smoky Shack, or otherwise known as the Page Cownan building. They don't upload their comments. We asked them how many there were, and the numbers they gave us was in the thousands. I think we're talking something like 5,000 or 6,000. I can't believe there are that many letters of representation or public comments. But well, you never know. It's pretty difficult to get information out of councils these days because they're short-staffed. They don't want trouble. They know there's trouble when there's a mosque application, and to go in and just look at the file to count them, that will take all day. I don't have the resources to do that, don't have the money to pay someone. I'd like to be able to do that. Local people don't have just don't have the time to go in and just flick through a planning file all day, and the council don't have someone to sit there with them all day whilst they do. So we have to go on external signs, but I think the external signs are pretty good. Now that is the Page Counham building. If I zoom in a bit there, that building there, what they want to do is to extend it out the back there and to knock out that rear wall. And I think the side wall there as well. And that rear wall has a nice old, nice old sort of fan window at the back. There's an architectural name for it. I can't remember what it is. But if you look there, look at that junction in Romford. That is an arterial route. You have a big mosque. I think that one might be for 1,200 people. You get 1,200 people going to mosque there. That junction, that's going to be problems there, and all the houses nearby. If you look there, I think that they're going to experience problems. So anyway, the reason I think that one's if I just show you that, I can't tell how many. I can't tell you how many objections have been submitted there. They don't upload them to the council's website, but I think there is good reason for hope, because on 13th of April, this news story came out saying that on the 25th of April, the mosque outfit they had called a public meeting, and so an important this is these local rags, they're always sort of so mosque friendly. An important meeting is set to take place later this month as plans for a new mosque in Romford reach a critical point. A message shared by the centre highlights just how important the moment is, with organisers calling on residents to unite behind the plans. We invite you to this key meeting to hear a clear update on your new mosque, the statement said. So I think this is aimed at the faithful, your new mosque. Hear directly from the team as we outline current challenges. That I like to hear that. Current challenges means no one wants it, or people are objecting to this, and how together we can overcome them. Your support is vital as we work to bring this project to completion. What I read, what I speculate is that there have been a load of objections. The council have said, oh, hold on, we're not so sure about this. And the mosque have got the wind up, and maybe, possibly, they're having to reduce their plans. We don't know. They haven't, what they've said after that meeting on the 25th. But I suspect that meeting sounds to me like a meeting where they're going to say to people, okay, we can't go for something quite so big. We're going to have to draw our horns in a bit, and here's how we justify it. And it's always embarrassing for them when they do that. I think that is a good sign. I mean, you can read that article yourself. Crucial mosque meeting to be held, etc. There's another local a local news report from the same rag, the 26th of March. Not supported. Elm Park worship leader, so I think that's another guy who runs a mosque, speaks out against large Romford mosque plans. A man who has been running a place of worship in Elm Park has set out plans to build a large mosque in the centre of Romford, warning it would inevitably increase congestion and risk creating unnecessary tension in the wider community. What I find significant here is that this gentleman, I think he runs a rival mosque, a rival community centre. And if you own or run a mosque in town, you become a Mr. Big, because Muslims don't generally distinguish between politics and religion. And so I find it significant that this paper will report on an objection from what I think is a rival, but it doesn't report from the little old lady who writes in saying, I don't want this place here. And so again, the fact that they're doing so, I think, is that they are taking seriously, or the paper are taking seriously, that people are objecting to this mosque application. And if the paper are doing it, I reckon the council are doing it as well. So I feel okay about that so far. Now, what I should say, there's a lot more I'd like to be able to do. If I had, this isn't me asking for more money. I think more money will come eventually. If and when I have that money, what I'd like to be able to do is to pay someone. It'll probably be a full-time job for someone to do two things really. Firstly, to organise local public meetings when there is a mosque application. So an orderly indoor sit-down public meeting where people air their objections to the application. Those always go better. Demos always go really badly. And if you have a big rowdy demo outside, it gives the council the excuse it wants to grant planning permission. If you have an orderly indoor sit-down public meeting, it pressures them into refusing. So I'd like to be able to pay someone to go and organise that. There's a lot of work involved just doing that, just hiring a hall and sending out information so that people will attend. But I'd like that. What I'd also like that person to be able to do is then to go to the council and say, what objections do you have? If you won't tell me, I've got the right to come in and look at your planning file. So get the planning file available and to push them into doing it, to basically bullying them into doing what they should do, which is to make publicly available information available to a member of the public. But that's not, I can't do that yet, so I have to go on the external signs that are online. So far, that's reasonably good. All right. Now, let me go to the next one. That is this one, and that is if I go to the top, that is the Salford Islamic Community Centre, which that one, I did a video appeal for that. That one is one that appears from a recent application, appears to be operating without planning permission. If you see that building, that first floor bit there, and the access it was going through the shop. I think they've got a fire escape out the back. So I suspect a lot of people go around the back up there to get access to it. And Salford Islamic Community Centre there. That I think it's all the way across the top there. And that is, if I do this, that's one that we've submitted a campaign against. I don't know how it's going. That's different from submitting objections to an application, because the application for a mosque hasn't been submitted there. It is about getting people to ask the council to do their job and enforce against a mosque if a mosque is operating without planning permission there, and to get it to stop doing so, to force it to apply for planning permission, which we can then impose. Now, this one, it says our story. It says, hold on, bear with me a second, I'll find the right bit. Okay, I'll just read this bit because I love what mosques say about themselves. In the heart of Salford, Manchester, nestled among the bustling streets and vibrant... Some PR smoothie wrote this. Nestled among the bustling streets and vibrant communities stands the Salford Islamic Community Centre, founded in 2017, so it's been going for 9 years. That's significant because there's a 10-year rule which says if you're doing something without planning permission for 10 years, you effectively get planning permission. You beat the clock. This mosque has quickly become a cornerstone of faith, education and unity for the local Muslim population, and a symbol of interfaith harmony within the broader Blardy community. Okay, so we don't have any feedback on how that's going. That's the next step, but that'll take a few weeks because local people need to have time to be able to write to the council and say, hey, you should be on top of this. You should be enforcing against this, or at least requiring them to submit a planning application and making sure they don't get it by default under the 10-year rule. Now, this is the final one that I was just told about today in Thurrock Council. Parking and traffic concerns over plans to convert a church into a mosque in Thurrock. It would place significant additional pressure on an already small and congested area. That church there, the Methodist Church on High Street, Stanford-le-Hope in Thurrock. There is an application to turn that church. Unusually, they've applied for planning permission to turn the church into a mosque. Now you can read that report yourselves there on Essex Live. If you just search for those terms, and I think I might stick that news report in the underneath the video because I'm going to be doing an appeal for funding to go after that one, I think. So there it is: change of use of a church to a mosque, including loft conversion, infill mezzanine to create additional floor space, etc. Bear with me, I'll just bring it up on a map. Okay, so there it is on the map. That is Stanford-le-Hope Methodist Church, right on the high street. And that is a narrow high street. Look at that. Let me stick the little yellow man in. Hold on, right opposite it. Look, damn. Hold on. Lovely old building there. Look at that. That is nice. And look at that street. High Street. Again, single file traffic going down the High Street. Good luck doing your shopping on a Friday afternoon if that old building becomes a mosque. That is, I think that needs to be prevented. So I think I'll do an appeal for funding for that one. Okay, thank you. That's all the campaign so far. That's well, I think those are going reasonably well, apart from maybe the um, Cheshire and West Chester one. But again, thank you for giving me the money to do it. Thank you for giving it so fast. I'm afraid I'm going to be pestering you for more money to go after another one soon. All right, talk to you soon. Bye bye.